The extinguisher is out. Them things are...
After my Sprinter caught fire, I wanted to understand exactly what happened. So I reached out to people who know these vans inside and out, mechanics, Sprinter specialists, even fire experts. I received no responses, absolutely nothing. So I had to figure things out on my own. What I learned is something every Sprinter owner should be aware of, and that's what I'll be sharing in this video. It is nutty, windy in Southern Baja right now. I'm hoping that you guys can't hear all the rattling, but I wanted to do this video anyways because I know many of you are waiting for part 3 of Sprinters on Fire. So here we are. I wanted to start by saying that in my previous video, some of you commented that I had talked about some important safety features at the end of the video where most people don't get to. And so I want to say that in this video there will be a lot of important information at the end of the video, and if you own the Sprinters, you want to make sure that you stay to the end. I know we all have short, or most of us have short attention span, at least I do, and sometimes I struggle to get to the end of the video, but make sure to stay to the end. And I will be sharing information about insurance coverage, safety features, mouse prevention. I think I figured out a way of keeping those rodents out of the motor, and a lot more information that I think will be very beneficial to anyone who owns a Sprinter. So let's get to it. If you haven't seen Sprinters on Fire Part 2, back in August, my 2025 Sprinter based RV caught on fire while I was driving, and after a very long investigation, Mercedes claimed that it was caused by rodent damage and they voided warranty. In the video, I talk about how I don't believe it was caused by rodent damage. After researching, I learned that I was not alone. The internet is littered with Sprinters on fire with very similar circumstances. In this video, I'll be talking about what I've learned since, and I will talk about the mistakes that I made and what I would be doing differently. So if you own the Sprinters and if your Sprinter catches on fire, you'll be more prepared. And hopefully these videos will make a difference. Mercedes claimed that the fire was caused by rodents chewing on the filler neck and oil vapors igniting. I contacted the experts, including Mercedes certified mechanics, engineers, Sprinters experts, and even fire investigators, and I couldn't get anybody to make a public statement. However, there was a general consensus, even from many of you guys that have replied to my video Sprinters on Fire Part 2. Thanks so much, everyone. But there was a general consensus that the fire was likely caused by high-pressure diesel fuel, and especially high-pressure diesel fuel spilling into the very hot turbos. And so I decided to contact Mercedes and ask them about it directly. I reached out to Mercedes and asked them to reopen my case. Since the original investigation, new information and technical perspectives had raised additional questions. Our current team, including from people with professional backgrounds, is that the fire may have involved diesel fuel, and that parts of the fuel system may deserve a closer look. Sprinters on Fire Part 2 had now been viewed over 53,000 times and generated a lot of thoughtful discussion. As I started working on the next phase of this project, I asked Mercedes to take another look at their findings. I was hoping that the pressure of public opinion would lead to a response, but it didn't. I also requested consideration for about $16,000 in losses. I waited a month, never heard back. After a month, I followed up with another email. What I was mostly interested in was whether a high-pressure diesel fuel leak, especially from injector lines, had been considered. That possibility came up repeatedly, including from people with professional experience and even a certified Mercedes technician. I also asked about the proximity of fuel components to the turbo, where temperature gets extremely high, and whether that was part of their analysis. And finally, whether any diagnostic data like fuel pressure records or ECU logs were reviewed before determining the cause of the fire. I received no answer. In Sprinters on Fire Part 2, I mentioned that I had filed a complaint with the NHTSA. So I went back to their website to see if there were any updates and I could get any answers there. I searched using my case number, but nothing came up. I then searched under Mercedes-Benz, and while there were several investigations listed, I couldn't find anything related to fires. That was a surprise because I personally know of another Sprinter fire that had been reported the year before. So I reached out directly to the NHTSA to understand if I was missing something. In my message, I asked about the status of my case and whether either incident was part of an active investigation. I also asked what information, if any, is publicly available, and whether additional documentation like my video or fire reports would be helpful. My goal was simply to understand how the process works and whether these cases were being reviewed. When I heard back from the NHTSA, I was surprised. Everything was still in what they called a pre-investigative stage. They told me there were a few reported incidents, including mine, but with conflicting findings. However, there wasn't an open investigation, and that I didn't expect. They also asked if I could share any fire reports from an insurance company to help with the review. I followed up with another email. I let the NHTSA know that I wasn't able to get a fire report from Progressive and offered to connect them directly with the adjuster if needed. I also reminded them that I had a video documentation I could share again, including detailed footage of the filler neck area identified by Mercedes as the point of origin. From what I could see, it didn't appear that the video had been reviewed. But what I was really trying to understand was whether an independent inspection had actually been done, or if everything was based solely on the manufacturer's findings. I also asked whether factors like fuel system routing and the proximity to high temperature components like the turbo are part of their evaluation. And finally, what standards exist when it comes to protecting fuel-related components from things like rodent damage. I never heard back from them, or Progressive or Mercedes. So now my question is, with all the Sprinter fires that we are seeing online, what will it take for a serious investigation to take place? I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys think. Since I was not going to get an answer from Mercedes or Progressive or the NHTSA, I decided to focus on the things that I could control and the lessons that I've learned. And that's what I'll be sharing with you guys. If you have watched Sprinters on Fire Part 2, I talk about using this fire extinguisher to try to put out the fire. It only lasts a few seconds, so it was not enough. And then I used this bowl that I filled with water several times from the sink and emptied it into the motor. And some of you guys mentioned that I should get a bigger fire extinguisher, or I should get multiple fire extinguishers. However, the truth is that the biggest mistake I made in this incident was actually putting out the fire. Even my insurance adjuster said it is, next time, Paolo, just let it burn. And truth is, a half-burnt rig that is not a sure total loss is a nightmare for everybody, for your insurance company, because they much prefer seeing a fully burnt rig and being able to just write you a check and walk away from it than having a half-burnt rig that has to go through, multiple estimating and investigations and all kinds of stuff. So your insurance company does not like a half-burnt rig, and trust me, you don't want a half-burnt rig either. If you put out the fire and it's not a clear total loss, you will be stuck for about 6 months at least, because the investigation takes a very, very long time. And then the repair will take a very long time. And then truth is, who wants a rig that had such a major damage to the motor and have to actually drive that later with all the uncertainty of a repair like that? So unless you have a really small, cable burner, then I would just walk away. And my plan is, if it was going to happen again, is save my dogs, loved ones, and grab my wallet, grab my camera equipment, grab my computer, and walk away. And to me, that is the best advice that I can give you, is have a plan of all the things that are important to you, and if something like that happens, take all those things out and then walk away, be safe, and not risk your life with a fire that could be quite dangerous. The other thing that I want to mention is diesel does not explode, which is something that I didn't know at the time. So you will have time to take this stuff out, especially if you don't open the hood. When you open the hood, you let air inside that motor, and that makes it ignite even more. So keep the hood closed, get all your stuff out, and then walk away. And then after you walk away, you grab your phone and you make sure that you film everything during the fire and then after the fire. And if you still have something left, make sure that you go in there and take video of every little bit so that you have a reference to look at when they do the investigation. I also have a dash cam that I have installed and connected directly to the camper battery, so when the ignition is turned off, it still records. And obviously you want to remove that dash cam as you're walking away with all the valuables. If Mercedes finds any rodent sign into your motor, they will be able to claim that anything that happens to your vehicle was caused by rodent damage. So I've learned that you need to check for any signs, and using a powerful flashlight is very helpful, because you want to be able to go in there and check and see if you see any droppings, if you see any nesting material. And having a powerful light works really well. And I love this light that I've been using for quite a while, and I'm not getting paid by the company at all, but I really like this light, so I'll put a link on the description. And the reason why I like it is because it has multi-features. You can use it with this light here when you're working on something, and then it has a magnet in the back, so you can stick it anywhere, like on the motor, like that, and it will just stay. And that's extremely helpful when you're working on things. So use a very powerful light to check your motor on a regular basis. And then the next thing that I would be talking about is figuring out a way of keeping those rodents out of your motor. And I feel like I have a really good solution. So let's go and check those out, or check that out. I have been battling mice here in Baja for as long as I can remember. They are extremely prevalent. They are used to campers. So they'll come around and find every possible food they can, chew everything they possibly can, and they love to get into your motor. So in the past, I have put as many as 4 traps in my engine bay, and I have caught as many as 4 mice per night for several weeks before I put a dent on the population. So it is a pretty serious issue, and after this fire, I decided to take my fight to a whole different level and create what I call a multi-layer protection. That seems to work. So the first most important thing is to have mice traps in the motors that are always set. And I used to tie them, and now I started putting Velcro on them so that they can be removed and you can add bait to them. I use a very light layer of peanut butter on them, and so the Velcro allows you to remove them and then have them on when you're driving. And I have 3 of them on both sides of the engine, in the middle, and here is the other one. The mice traps are very important because they will give you an indication if you have rodents in your motor. Then I added this rodent repellent to the motor, and I have 4 pouches. And I've learned about this particular brand at the local rancher supply store in Montana, and ranchers use it. So that made me decide that it's probably a product that works, because I can imagine ranchers would use something that doesn't work. Again, I'm not paid by the company, so I will put a link on the description. It seems to work, and I'll show you guys how I have it in the motor. So this is how I've secured rodent repellent. I just kind of stuff them behind wiring or anything that it's not close to heat sources, and then I use a clamp to hold them in place. And so far it has worked really well. I have 4 of them, and none of them have fallen off or caught on fire or caused any trouble. And the way you know when you have to replace them is that you open the hood and you don't smell them. And right now, I think it's about that time for me. So for the first time, I started using ultrasound repellents, and I have 2. I wanted to test out 2 of these, and I'm gonna have a whole video. I did quite some testing, so I'll have a whole video on this experiment. So this will be kind of like a short version of that. But I have this one guy here, which I like because it has the option of putting to hardwire it, and then batteries. And I haven't hardwired it yet, but I will be hardwiring this one. What I like about this one is that it has the lights, but it also vibrates. And I do believe that the vibration is very, very important. It is extremely annoying. So if you are a light sleeper, it might be a problem. For me, the ocean is so loud that I can't really hear it. However, I did camp in a place that was quiet, and I had to put Spotify with ocean sound to sleep. So I like this one, but it is loud. And then I got this other guy here, and let's see if it's gonna, this one lights up and then also makes a sound. Here we go. There it is. So these 2 guys, I have 4 of these in my rig, and this guy is Velcroed on, and this guy is zip tied on. I'm not sure why I didn't Velcro this one. I think because the location where I wanted to put it. So I feel like these things work because it's like a discotheque at night in that rig, and with the scent and all the noise that these things make. 4 of these, 2 vibrating, and this one beeping, and the lights. I really believe that you make an environment that is not really conducive for these mice to settle. So I'm feeling really confident that these devices actually work. If you are in the city and mice are maybe used to lights and noise, maybe they won't work, but here it works. So I'll show you guys where I put them and why I put them the way I did. So I'm gonna do this recording while these things are actually active, so you'll be hearing all the noise that these guys make. And but the reason why I actually zip tied, I now remember why I did this, is because, well, first of all, you want to keep them away from anything hot. So you are a little bit close there to some hot components, but I feel like you're high enough on that. But what I mostly wanted to do was protect the air filter, because that's actually where those mice nested in my previous Sprinter. And so I put 2 of them. I put one back there and then one here, and both of them are pointing to the filter. And then I believe that mice use the wheels and the wheel wells to get into the motor. So I put one right here on the driver wheel well, and then I've got this other guy on the other side, and these guys are velcroed like I said, and as you can see I have the traps and then the ultrasound repellent right here. So there we go. This is my whole scheme here for the mouse. So there is that one guy now lighting up and making the noise. So yeah, so it gets pretty loud here at night, and here's the other guy going, and as you can see, you're making an environment that is really not very conducive for mice to hang out. Plus all the scent, and it has worked really well for me, so something that you might want to try. Now let's talk about insurance coverage, and that's when things get complicated. I feel that insurance companies make it extremely confusing and extremely hard to understand what you're truly covered for. And after my incident, I realized that I wasn't properly covered. I had insurance for my rig, but I did not have coverage on all the mods that I made. And I know that a lot of you guys spend a lot of money in mods. I had about $16,000 in mods that I ended up losing because I was not properly covered. So whatever insurance you have, make sure that you have your rig insured and your mods insured. The other thing that I wasn't aware of before the incident is that my personal belongings in the rig were only covered up to $1,000. So I had a bicycle that was worth $7,000. I had fly rods that were worth more than $1,000. I had a lot of equipment in there that was worth more than $1,000 per piece. So whichever insurance you have, make sure that your personal belongings are covered for whatever they are worth. And you can get homeowners insurance to cover that, and you can make an umbrella policy to cover those items. You can get a business insurance, and that's what I did because I have so much camera equipment, and it's hard to consider my camera equipment personal belongings. So I do have a separate business policy for my camera equipment and things that are worth more than $1,000. You might be able to do a coverage through your rental insurance, but whatever you do, just have a conversation with your agent and ask, what are my personal belongings covered for? And if they say $1,000 per item and you have things that are worth more than that, you probably want to make some changes. So that's something that you want to be aware of. The other thing that you want to be aware of, if you're a full-timer, which means that anyone who spends more than 6 months, which is what we do, you want to have full-timer liability. And that will cover you if your rig is out of service for more than a month or so. And in our case, we were without a rig for a very long time. So there was no rental coverage. There was nothing that could have helped for all the period for the period of time that we were without a rig. So these are all things that you want to make sure that you talk with your insurance agent. And the reality is that a lot of the insurance agents don't really understand coverage itself. So make sure that you are very clear with them on what you want, and that they have a conversation with the actual insurance company, or maybe just have a direct conversation with the insurance company. I personally have Progressive, motorhome insurance, and I have insured my rig for replacement value, and I have set my amount of what it would cost me to replace my rigs with all the mods that I've made. I'm not saying that I would use Progressive, but whatever you use, just make sure that you're able to get into the same rig that you have at the moment with the coverage that you have. Thanks so much for watching. And in summary, don't be a hero. Don't try to put out that fire. Be safe. Make sure that you have proper coverage with your insurance. Watch those sneaky mice. And go out there and have fun. I hope you found some useful information in these videos, and would love to hear from you guys. We've had such a great conversation in the previous video, and I really enjoyed reading all of your comments and all the great knowledge that came out of it. So let's go out there and have fun. See you next.